Welcome to Boobies Noobies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today I'm joined by former coworker, hair color queen, who's currently rocking Cookie Monster blue, and the sexiest voice in town, Serena Ghazzawi. Welcome, Serena.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, come on. Now let me hear that in your most sultry tone.
I might have to charge.
Fair enough. Well, I'm excited to have you.
I'm really excited to be here, so thank you.
Yeah, we were actually supposed to podcast a while back with another one of our former guests, Raquel.
Yes.
And I think time just got away from us, and then you were traveling.
I was, yeah. But I just came to you, the new year hit, and I was like, I need to read a
Yeah.
sexy book and get on a podcast, so here I am.
Done.
Yeah.
Done and done. We make it work.
Oh, yeah.
Tim Gunn style.
Tim Gunn style.
Make it work. So today, Serena and I will be discussing the book Stripped by Zoey Castile. And this book was published in August of 2018 and is available on Amazon for $9.99 Kindle edition. Yikes.
Or Audible for a free trial.
I know. I totally missed the book. You know what? They actually have used paperback versions of this book for $3, right? But I wanted it then and there. And $9.99, that is a splurge for me. So I think you made the right choice in going with Audible.
I mean, I do like a tangible book in my hands, but...
Right? Something about it.
But then the Audible, I will say, because of the narration, that was a whole other experience.
Yes.
I don't think it would have been the same had I read the book, because you have a sultry male voice.
Okay.
Talking about
Doing her good.
doing her various firm appendages.
Oh my gosh.
So that...
Okay, we've talked about it before, but I've listened to very few books on tape. That's what I call them, books on tape. What are they actually called in 2018? Audiobooks. I'm used to back when I took road trips with my family, we would listen to books on tape that you would get at the library, and you'd have to have 6 of them for the story that you were listening to. But yeah, I haven't listened to many audiobooks, and I haven't listened to any romance audiobooks, so I'm very curious to hear more about that, and that'll be something we talk about for sure. I will also mention that Stripped is the first book in Zoey Castile's Happy Endings series, and book 2 actually drops at the end of this month. So I know that I'll be reading that one. I don't know about Serena. We'll have to talk about that.
I feel like I will also be reading it.
Yeah? Do you think you'll... I wonder if you listen to it, if it's the same people that read book 1, if they'll also read book 2.
No shade, but a little shade. I hope the man stays the same, but I hope they swap out Robyn.
Okay.
Fallon was a good Fallon, but Robyn was...
Good. Well, and in book 2, there will be different characters, too. It won't be about Fallon and Robyn. And again, it'll be... there's a little excerpt if you go on Amazon to read for the second book, there's a little excerpt about who it's about. It's one of the other guys from the group of male strippers. So, spoiler alert, this book, Stripped, is about male strippers.
Oh my god.
I know. So before we talk about the book itself, let me just ask you, before reading/listening to Stripped, had you ever read a romance novel before?
Does Twilight count? No, I have not.
I like that you answered your own question.
I have not, actually, and I wouldn't say I, fully stigmatized it, but I feel like I internalized maybe a little stigma towards the romance genre, only because I thought it was just, pornographic books.
Right.
And, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just nothing that piqued my fancy.
Sure.
And I always thought that also meant bad storytelling and just maybe, poor use of good vocabulary, things like that. And this book actually proved me wrong. Because
Great.
I thought the storytelling was not bad, and the use of certain words too surprised me. Yeah. I'm with you. It was pretty it was intelligent. I don't mean to say that the genre is not sophisticated, but I was a little surprised at how sophisticated it was.
Your perspective was you had never really thought of it as being a sophisticated, intelligent genre before.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm glad that that's in the past tense and that maybe we've curbed your opinion of romance a little bit. What do you typically read, or are you a reader?
I do read. It varies. I just finished Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential.
Okay.
So I'll read autobiographies, biographies. Then I read fiction, and I'll read anything.
Just not romance.
I guess not.
Have you ever read books, though, that have romance in them?
Sure.
Okay.
Of course, yeah. And I mean, I don't know if this is just who I am as a person. I don't even really necessarily like romantic comedies. I don't like romance films per se. I do love Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, though. Okay,
but that's more of a dramatic look at a little bit more realistic too. So definitely not as much happy-go-lucky sunshine and rainbows type romance.
Right.
Got it. Okay, fair enough. Okay, how about this one? Since this book is about male strippers and kind of by proxy sex workers too, that I think kind of comes in later into the second book. But what's your experience with male strippers?
Oh, good question. I've been to West Hollywood a few times.
So, I mean, did you go to a strip club or was it just people on the street because it's West Hollywood?
A little bit of both, yeah. Some of it was consensual male stripping, others not so much. I've been to, this past summer I went to my first bachelorette party.
Nice.
And we got an Airbnb in Cathedral City, California.
Oh, okay, so near Palm Springs. I'm going for a bachelorette party in March.
Oh, really?
In Palm Springs, yeah.
It's a good little place to
have. It's a good getaway, especially if you're in Southern California. That's sure. An alternative to Vegas. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. And we got this Airbnb, and there was a surprise stripper who came, and
to the house.
To the house. Well, surprise for the bride. We voted on who we wanted the man to be online.
Oh my gosh.
And guess who doesn't show up? The man we voted for. And in fact, he wasn't even on the list of men to choose from, so that was very funny.
So what, they just sent Tony was free, so we sent him.
I guess. It looks like he just flat ironed his hair in the car.
Okay.
And he didn't know which way was up and showed up, looking like a stripper cop.
Oh, nice. Okay. Keeping it classic. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I went to Vegas a few years back, and it was so funny. It was for my cousin's 18th birthday, not even 21, 18. And my aunt asks her, "What do you want for your birthday?" And being the spoiled only child she is, she said, "Well, I want to go to Vegas and I want to go see Thunder Down Under." And my aunt was not only accommodating, but invited me and my mother and another cousin and her mother. So it was all the girl cousins that were over 18, and I think I was 22 at the time, and our moms. And we went to go see Thunder Down Under in Vegas. And it was really funny because at this time, I had a friend who was working the Cirque du Soleil circuit in Vegas, and I met up with her the day before and was like, "Hey, we're going to go see this show." I'm excited, but also kind of and I'm pretty sure this was pre-Magic Mike.
Okay.
And she said, "You know what? I haven't seen Thunder Down Under. I've seen the other one, the other big male review, Chippendales. I've seen Chippendales." And she's like, "You'll be surprised how empowering it is to be there as a woman." And it kind of reminded me of that when I was reading this book, was that in this book, Fallon talks about how he thinks the reason he does this, and it's so sexy, is because there's nothing sexier to him than pleasing a woman, making her feel good and seeing her happy and enjoying herself. And they really do a great job of that at these shows in Vegas, because it's not a seedy strip club. It's not people stuffing ones down their panties. It's very much they have a choreographed show. There's different numbers. Sometimes they come out onto your table or pick people out from the audience. But Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. And then Magic Mike came out. And I was like, okay, we're just going to keep running with this train. And now there's that Magic Mike show in Vegas, too. So,
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, they did. They're doing like a Magic Mike show in Vegas. I don't know how different it is from like...
Shannon?
Right? I want to say he was there like at the beginning, like, for like a special appearance or something. But since we're talking about Magic Mike, I will confess that I love the movie. First of all, I'm a huge Magic Mike fan, not just because of the tasty boys, but
I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, we'll fix that. We will fix that ASAP. But it's actually a really good movie. It's a Steven Soderbergh movie. It's super good, super well made. Just the visuals of it are really good. Good storytelling, too, surprisingly. I feel like people went to go see Magic Mike, and they're like, wait, I didn't sign up for a story. Gosh, same way people feel about romance.
Yeah, exactly.
And I recently read online that they were planning to do Magic Mike the musical and take it to Broadway. And I was like, well, yeah, I'll see that. Like, come on. And today, this morning, before you got here, I went online, read an article about how Magic Mike the musical is going to do its pre-Broadway run in Boston in December. I think it's November through January, December through January, something like that. End of 2019. And I bought 2 tickets.
In Boston?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't have flights. I don't have anything. I was like, you know what? This is going to lock it in that I have to go see the show. I already missed Moulin Rouge, the musical. I have a musical theater background. So like I love shows and I've never been to New York City, but I was like, you know what? This is it. Like this is going to be treat myself moment. We were about to talk about Stripped and I just felt like it was meant to be. So yeah, I'm going to Boston in December.
Oh my God, it's gonna
Magic
be amazing.
Mike, here I come.
To fulfill your stripped
musical
fantasy destiny. And I feel like I vaguely knew that you had a musical theater background, but it makes so much sense just based on the way you project your voice.
Yeah, it's true. I'm naturally loud. I enunciate like crazy. I'm just like, I'm sorry, I was trained in theater.
Yeah. No, because every musical theater kid I knew.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. It's why I could never act on film because I'd be like, how are ya? Like, it would just be...
The audio mixer would have his work cut out for him, for sure.
It would just be so over the top. That's why I became a writer. But, okay, anyway, so we both enjoyed, the male stripper here or there.
Yes.
And this was your first dab into romance.
It was.
Exciting. And I will tell you, I was excited. I didn't choose this book specifically thinking, oh my gosh, Serena has to read this. But this was kind of on my radar because this book was widely publicized in the second half of 2018. It's been described as Magic Mike meets Bridesmaids, which I feel like is very much something I love. So I was like, oh, of course I want to read this. It's appeared on many best of 2018 romance lists, and it was praised by a lot of book critics and bloggers for its positive characterization of exotic dancers and sex workers, which we don't see enough of in romance, let alone literature, media
Society.
In general. Yeah, right? So I had so many reasons why I wanted to read this book, and you were just along for the ride.
Yeah, no, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Great. Yeah. Okay, I'm so excited. So if anybody out there listening has not read Stripped by Zoey Castile yet, here is the not so brief Amazon synopsis of the book so you know what you're in store for. Here we go. Skilled, sculpted, and sexy. The men of adult entertainment are the kind of guys a woman reserves for her fantasies, not her reality. But is there more to these professional hotties than meets the eye? The day Robyn Flores meets Zac Fallon is one of those days. Good names.
Oh, yeah.
You know when you're already late for work. Mostly because you haven't really slept since your best friend abandoned you for her fiancé and her exponentially better life. The kind of day you drag yourself to the cleaners to pick up your laundry, only to discover you've got the wrong bag. Spangled sequined thong, anyone? So Robyn is definitely not ready for the ridiculously gorgeous guy at her front door, except that they have each other's clothes. But then, is any woman ever ready to meet the love of her life? There's just one problem. Zac Fallon is not the love of Robyn's life. Zac knows, despite the all-too-intimate dinner they share, he doesn't have a shot at her, because the next time Zac sees Robyn, he's front and center of the Mail Review, headlining her best friend's bachelorette party. So much for wooing the pretty school teacher, much less impressing her old-fashioned family with his upstanding lifestyle. Now he's only got one way to win the dream girl. It's gonna be the steamiest, most irresistible seduction she's ever seen, and this time, it will be no act. Whew, okay. I feel like that's honestly longer than it needs to be. Like, it's a pretty
totally agree.
Simple story when you boil it all down. But yeah, interesting. Yeah. Okay, so initial thoughts. You've already said you enjoyed the book. Take it from there. What did you like about it?
Okay. First of all, I mean, I'm a writer as well, and I'm an avid reader, and I appreciate coherent storytelling.
Yes.
I don't like when plot points arise and then no longer, don't get resolved at the end.
I call that the Ryan Murphy effect.
Oh my God, yes, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. Like, I watch every season of American Horror Story, but it drives me nuts.
It always somewhere like in the middle of the season it takes a sharp turn and you do not know what you're watching anymore.
And then you just take half the storylines and throw them in the toilet.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that one.
I can't talk to people about that, so I really appreciate this exchange. Yeah,
great. This was meant to be.
Yeah, it was.
From strippers to Ryan Murphy.
Hashtag the Ryan Murphy effect. Yeah. So in that regard, I enjoyed that because I thought it would be like just sort of incoherent plot or can't think of the word,
inconsistent or lazy.
Yeah, like essentially like lazy pot to pot.
Whoa.
Just like story for the sake of driving sex scenes,
Got it. So like the story is just there as like a precursor to the sexual content.
Intercourse.
Got it. Okay.
Whatever, but I was pleasantly surprised to read that, or to listen rather, that it was mainly story with a side of sex.
No, I think you're right. I think and it wasn't like I felt cheated out of the sex either. Like, it felt, and I wrote this in my notes several times, it felt real. Like, it really did feel like real relationships, real dating, real problems. They felt like real characters. Robyn I connected with on so many levels.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh my gosh. She's also, I think they mentioned she's 27 or 28, and I swear every book I'm reading these days, they're 27 or 28. I'm 27, about to turn 28. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, this book is made for me. Like, but the whole idea that she's a teacher. And it's really interesting because she went to like an Ivy League school, and she, I think, has her master's too, or her credential, some sort of teaching licensing to it. But she mentions going to multiple schools. She teaches at a great school in the city in New York, and she, has an apartment. She's got kind of like, this is everything I wanted. Like, this was everything that was on my list, but something's still missing. And it's not really that the guy is missing. I liked that it's not just like, oh, I'm lonely, but also just like, this isn't, I don't know myself. I don't know myself right now. I'm realizing that because my best friend is getting married. I'm looking at her and thinking she looks so happy. Like, what does she have that I don't have? And she's like the bad bridesmaid, maid of honor that, how can I help you because I don't know how to help myself? Like, I mean, it really was kind of dark, like a dark story.
For sure.
But it's told in a fun, light, romantic comedy kind of tone. So it could have very well taken a very dark turn. Definitely. And I think she found a great balance.
She has this facade of having it together.
Yes.
From the outside looking in. Like you said, she's a teacher. She has an apartment in New York City. Like, how many people?
I know.
And, but then also she has this, like, neuroses. Like, she is so neurotic. She's an anxious, depressive mess.
She's always late to everything.
And
she knows it. She knows it, too. She's like, I know I'm going to be late.
And that, in and of itself, like, resonated with me just because I feel like a lot of the characteristics she possessed, I also possess. And it was very, like, her narration was... It was almost strange to say, but cerebral. Like, you can... It really, like... Everything you think, she's also thinking.
I get the comparison to how they think of this book as Magic Mike meets Bridesmaids, because Kristen Wiig's character in Bridesmaids is going through the same thing. So that's why I think people will really connect with Robyn's character. You don't have to be 27 or 28 to understand this, like, not even midlife, quarter life crisis that she's going through. Because if you have friends getting married, if you have friends having babies, like, if you have friends on a career path that you thought you would be on, but you're not, like, it's a lot of those things resonate. Sure. And it's, I mean, it really is real.
And then she goes to the laundromat and grabs the wrong bag of laundry.
Yeah, it's a good start. It's a cute, meet cute without being too cute. Right. You know, like, she grabs the wrong laundry, opens it up when she gets back to her apartment. First of all, I love that she goes to a laundromat. I'm like, fantastic. How real is that? It's so unsexy too. Like, we have to drag the bag of laundry up like 5 flights of stairs. And she opens it up and boom, thong, tearaway sweatpants. Like, oh, this isn't mine. And then she spills coffee, wipes it up with his clothes. I mean, it's perfect. It really is a great setup.
That's rock bottom, people. You don't even have a clean rag to your name, so use a star-spangled thong to wipe up some coffee.
And really, let's be honest, that thing is covered in sequins. How much is that really going to soak up?
Right.
Enter Fallon. His name is Zac Fallon, but we know him throughout the book as Fallon. So
I like to think that he was named because Zoey Castile has a thing for Jimmy.
Okay.
You know? Okay. And one day she just, like, had a dream, a little wet dream about Mr. Jimmy Fallon, and said, I need to write him in a book without writing him in my book.
Right. I can't call him Jimmy Fallon, but people will know. They'll know who this is really about.
I got you, girl. I know.
Do you have a lot of dreams about Jimmy Fallon?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Oh, innumerable ones. Yeah. I'm having one right now as I sit awake.
Oh my God, how funny. Is he like one of your, like, celebrity crushes?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. He's entertaining.
He's entertaining, yeah.
I have to, okay, here, quick marry, fuck, or die.
Okay.
So I'm going to be doing a live show in February with the fabulous ladies from My Worst Date podcast. And one of their recurring segments that they do is marry, fuck, or die. And so this one just came to me, marry, fuck, or die TV late night hosts. Okay. So Jimmy Fallon, Conan O'Brien, and who's the other Jimmy? Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay.
So Kimmel, Fallon, O'Brien.
Okay, so before we get into this, a question I've always had about this game. Marry and fuck.
Yeah.
So, marry, you're like, you're having sex for, an indefinite amount of time, and then fuck is just like a one-time thing, right?
I don't know, because this is so funny. I've had this same conversation twice this month. I always interpret it as you're married to one person, but you're fucking this other person. So you're not with your spouse. Like, they're there for more of, like, the emotional and the, sweet, they're there to cuddle you at night. Yeah. But that's just my interpretation. Like, you take it as you will.
Okay. We'll go off your interpretation. I never thought of it like that.
Okay.
So, marry, fuck, or die. All right. I would say... It's not really, it's kind of slim pickings.
You're the one who brought up Jimmy Fallon, so here you go. This is what you get.
I guess I would marry Conan O'Brien.
Okay.
Fuck Jimmy Fallon. And then kill sweet old Kimmel.
Kill Kimmel?
Kill Kimmel.
Honestly, we might have the same because I love Conan O'Brien.
Love him.
I think he's delightful. And I would want him around, I think, the most. I think either of the Jimmys would annoy me too much. So if I only had to fuck Jimmy Fallon, I think that'd be fine.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel, I feel like, is a kind of blank to me. Like, I don't really get a sense of his personality as much. So I'm gonna throw him to the wolves. Bye, Jimmy.
Conan has the right amount of bitterness and apathy that I can withstand in a partner.
I love a redhead, too. I'm all for a good ginger. So, anyway, there we go. That's our little segue into Fallon to Fallon. Let's carry on. Okay, well, let's talk about Fallon. We talked about Robyn and how she's definitely easy to connect with. Fallon, okay, you haven't seen Magic Mike. No. So there's definitely some similar vibes going on. Like, it's even got a very similar setup. And Zoey Castile in her bio at the end of the book even mentions, like, thanking Magic Mike or loving Magic Mike. So I get it. In this one, it's got a similar setup to that in that this is a group of men who are like a traveling stripper review. And so they've gone city to city. It seems like it's very successful. Like, Fallon even mentions how he's got like 6 figures in the bank right now because he has made a great living doing this since he was like 17, 18. And at the same time, they travel so much, it's not like he's really paying for anything. Right. What I liked about him is that he totally owns being a stripper. Like, I feel like in romances I've read where there is a stripper character, I've read other ones with male strippers, I've read other ones with female strippers, but usually it ends up being like their background is, yeah, I kind of fell into being a stripper. Like, I didn't know, what else to do, or I'm just doing this for like part-time. And Fallon and all the guys in the review, what is it, Mayhem City? Mm-hmm. They all are all about it. I mean, he does definitely have, I kind of wanted him to be less shameful about it. Like, when he's meeting people, he doesn't say what he does, because he's like, oh no, it's going to embarrass Robyn.
But he does that, to preserve her.
Yeah. But I'm like, he so owns it, like, in his internal monologues and dialogue and stuff, where he'll be like, oh yeah, I love being a stripper. It's fantastic. Like, I love making women feel good. I'm good at it. He never really seems to complain about it until he's with Robyn. And then he's like, oh, I guess that's kind of where I got a little lost, was just sort of, because by the end of the book, he quits. He quits being a stripper when he's made it to the point where he thought, oh, this is what I've always wanted, was to go to Vegas. So I was like, oh, it's kind of like Robyn. Like, she was where she thought she was supposed to be as a teacher, but she's not happy. So I kind of thought that was like the mirror between them two. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I was like, I kind of wanted it to end where he kept being a stripper. Like, I really did want him to just keep doing it if he loved doing it, So that was like, if I had a complaint about this book, and I don't have many, I really enjoyed it. It would be that I got a little lost with like his train of thought of why he did it and did he really like it or not. So from listening to it, I'm wondering, did you get any like clues of like from the tone of voice about?
No, and that's exactly a point that I would agree with.
Oh, great. Okay.
Because I thought towards the end of the story, it unraveled a bit just because he was very, like you said, he wasn't shameful at all about his career choice. He was empowered by it, which I respect too, because I mean, that industry is highly stigmatized. And
yes.
Tons of people in the real world are empowered by that profession, amongst other professions similar. And so, when he said that he was going to quit stripping because he wasn't good enough for Robyn, it sort of came out of left field, I felt like.
Agreed.
I didn't really see any sort of internal struggle, like personal character struggle, other than her.
Yeah. Especially because they had this whole conversation where he tells her finally that he's going to Vegas, and she knew he was leaving, but you kind of think, oh no, there's going to be this fight that comes because she's going to find out he's actually leaving earlier than expected. And it's not, it's just a conversation, which I respected. I was like, oh good, this isn't like a romantic comedy where there's like the misunderstanding that could be solved with one conversation. They actually have the conversation. But then he invites her to go to Vegas with him on the road, and she says yes. And you're like, oh, okay, so everything's cool. Like, but then when they have their little, issue at the wedding that they go to, that he's like, oh, not only is she not going to go with me, but I'm going to quit. And I don't know, that I'm with you. It kind of came out of left field for me. Like, I wondered what he was going to do next. Like, I knew he wanted to go home. There was definitely like that lingering idea throughout the story that he hasn't been back to Boston in a while. His family needs him. His sister comes to visit. I liked that moment. But so I kept thinking like, oh, they're going to end up going back to Boston. And that does happen. But again, I didn't realize he was going to drop stripping, because it kind of gives me that message of like, you can't have it all sort of thing. Like, you have to pick and choose. He has to
sacrifice for her ultimately. And I think the catalyst for maybe that decision could have been at the wedding when, you know, Lucas was belligerent and they were having that whole, you know, argument / fight, and Lucas was antagonizing him in his profession, and he saw that Lucas was also attracted to Robyn, and that maybe in his mind they were more of a compatible couple, so that also could have triggered like some sort of momentary existential crisis,
because other than that, I loved that he owned what he did. Like, I really did. And as the book went on, I think Zoey Castile started planting little moments where it kind of gave you the idea that he didn't necessarily love it. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's why it ends that way. Is like, but I feel like usually when in books I've read and in movies I've seen where somebody leaves a profession or a certain life that they've created for themselves, it's because they're doing it in favor of something else. They're, you know, even Robyn, she's like, I want to go to grad school because I really want to write. That's like my dream. I want to write. And she does it. I'm like, great. Okay, you're leaving teaching to go be a writer. And for him, I guess that was kind of my thing, was it was a little wishy-washy for me of like, he's leaving stripping, which, you know, he said kind of a little bit throughout, like he would have moments of doubt of like, oh, or I could do this, you know, but there was never really the thing that like, what is he leaving for? Is he leaving just to be with her? Is it to be with his family? You know, so yeah, I'm with you. I think we're on the same page that there just was like a little confusion with why he left stripping. I almost wonder what would happen if he stayed as a stripper. Like, it's kind of like the alternative ending I've thought about.
I've thought about it too, and a part of me is glad they never went to Vegas, because I'm not gonna lie, I was slightly upset. I know it's like a romance novel, and the idea is like, it's escapism, right? Like, it's not supposed to be something completely realistic, but I still can't turn that part off of my brain where I'm like, you need to look out for yourself, don't like sell your soul for a man. And so I was, when they were, you know, doing the deed in the jacuzzi or in the tub, and he asked her in a moment of orgasmic clarity whether or not she would come to Vegas with him. Me. Okay. Come with me. Yeah. And she said, yes, I kind of wanted to slap homegirl because, you know, you have your whole life here. You've known this guy for far less than a month, and you're about to
uproot your life.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I liked the intention of it being kind of showing her making a turn of like, you know what? I need to figure out myself and get away. Like, I need to get away. But I think the ending worked out well with them going to Boston, because not only was she going with him because his family's there, but she gets into a school. So it's like, it's not just her moving for him. It's them starting a new life together. So it's one of those endings too, where you're kind of like, okay, like this, you know, I mean, he does propose. He does propose in the end. Spoiler. But that's what we do on this show, spoilers. But before the proposal, you kind of have this nice little open ending moment of like, it could have ended when they went to Boston, and honestly, that would have been fine for me. Mm-hmm. I'm not mad at a good proposal ending either, but it is a relationship that escalates very quickly. And so if they had just moved to Boston and like, okay, where do we go from here kind of thing, like, I would have understood that as well. So it really is real in that way of like, we were talking about this earlier, we've kind of like negated the rules of dating. So we sort of go from like 0 to 60. Mm-hmm. Like, we go from single to relationship. And so that's kind of what they do in this book, is like, they go from being neighbors to, I mean, the first day they meet, they have this like really hot makeout session, but then step away, and then all of a sudden they're like together again. You know, I mean, it's so indicative of like what we do now.
For sure. In the world of fast food dating,
Yes.
if someone has a mutual attraction to you, like on a emotional level, other than just a physical level, you hold on to them.
Yes.
You do not let them go.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Another swipe and you're gone.
Swipe myself off a cliff. That's what I'm about to do.
I like that.
God, so true. What did you call it? Fast food dating?
Fast food dating.
Oh my God. I love that term.
That's not mine. I heard it somewhere. So
well, whoever said it.
I'm not that smart.
We're loving it.
Yes, thank you.
Was there, okay, so we start with the laundry. I mean, we kind of touched on it. The relationship progresses very quickly. They, you know, as quickly as it goes, they don't have sex until much later in the book. I think it's interesting because I feel like when people pick up a book that's about a male stripper and he's showing some good abs on the cover and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I mean, she picks up a thong on page 1 of the story. I think you have this natural inclination that, oh, this is going to be really hot. And it is, but it definitely doesn't come in until way later. And I did not find it frustrating at all. Like I really was so invested in both of the characters, even in the Mayhem City side characters and Robyn's friend whose wedding she's should be helping plan but isn't. And
congratulations, Lily.
Yeah, good for you. But yeah, no, I really was in it from beginning to end.
And I think that's why I enjoyed it too, only because I felt like I was reading, for lack of a better term, like a real book.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like, you know, I opened it and there we are on a bed with, you know, bodily fluids. It was like a real, like a
You mean, oh my gosh, there's an actual story in a romance novel? What?
Go figure.
Oh my gosh. I know. I mean, that's a discussion we've had on this show multiple times is you should be into a book if it's got a good story and good characters, regardless of the genre. Who cares if it's a sci-fi or a romance? Yeah. So yeah, I'm with you.
If you're looking for like a super sexy pornographic book, I don't know if this is the right one, but if you're looking for a good, I think this is a great gateway into the romance genre.
No, that's great. Yeah. That's great. And I think you're right too. And I like this shift that I think is happening in romance right now where a lot of the stories, and it's not to say that they weren't realistic before, but I feel like a lot of the stories that you're even seeing publicized more in mainstream media and being turned into Netflix movies and appearing on the New York Times bestseller list, they're these more realistic approaches and they're representing more ethnicities and backgrounds that like we haven't seen a lot of in romance. I feel like that's where it's been going the last couple years, and I hope that continues because I think it's opening up a much larger audience that never would have said, I'm going to read a romance, but when they pick up a book and it doesn't have a cover with a guy bearing his abs, they're like, oh, but this isn't a romance. It's okay. So I don't know what the embarrassment is of having a man half naked or a woman, her heaving bosoms, whatever it is on the cover. I don't know why that's so embarrassing to people, but
it's just a Carl's Jr. ad. Isn't it? You eat that.
Yeah. For real. We salivate, our mouths fill. Tasty. I think the same thing when I see a romance novel.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. But we got to get over that. We got to get over this guilt that we're feeling.
We really need to. You're so right. Sex is, as much as we are sexually liberated in this country, to a degree, it's still very much taboo in certain aspects.
Well, and you're right in saying to a degree. It's like we're liberated to a certain point, but not too much.
Right.
Not too much. So yeah, I'm curious to see where that goes because it's not that I'm saying get rid of cover models. I feel like you should just be able to pick up a book and who cares,
right.
But I don't think we're just there yet. We're getting there.
We are.
We're getting there. So in the meantime, Stripped #2 comes out this month.
I wonder if it's Ricky and Darla.
Oh, I can tell you who it is. Hold on, I'll bring it up. Oh, okay. So they've announced the next 2 books in the series. And so book number 2 is Hired. And Hired will tell the story of Aiden Rios, who's one of the guys from Mayhem City. Those lovely, lovely men. I love that name, Mayhem City. He's the one in the book that they allude to also being a male escort, that he's not just a stripper. He kind of makes a little extra cash on the side, specifically keeping the company of older ladies, which I loved. I was like, you get it. Book number 3 will come out in August, and that one is called Flashed. And Flashed is going to be about Patrick Halloran. And he was, I think, the one in Mayhem City that was like, he used to be a professional soccer player or baseball player. Do you remember that? I feel like it was only mentioned really briefly, but we meet the guys of Mayhem City with Fallon, and there's the twin brothers. There's Ricky, who kind of runs the show, and he has this like secret love for Darla, who's been stealing money from them. So I'm like waiting for that to be a book. Right. I'm with you. And then I want to say there were a couple more, and one of them was, I think they just call him Halloran. I don't think they call him Patrick, but I know that Fallon at one point mentioned that one of the guys in Mayhem City was like a former athlete and he got hurt. And that's how Ricky found him, because Ricky found all of them and saved all of them. So anyway, he's going to be book number 3. It's going to be about him. So
Ricky
we'll see.
Is like the Pound, but for like hot guys.
And the quote of the episode goes to... On that note, we'll take a quick break and listen to a promo for Caskets and Cocktails podcast.
Hey guys, I'm Katie Leverett.
I'm Danny Faulkner. I'm her daddy.
And welcome to Caskets and Cocktails.
I've been in the cemetery business for over 35 years.
That's right, and this podcast is all about Mr. Danny's hilarious and crazy stories that happened to him.
Everything that happens in a cemetery.
So guys, go ahead and hit subscribe because
we'll be the last ones to let you down.
Let's talk about when we do finally get to the sex in this book, because I feel like once we get there, it's pretty tasty. Mm-hmm. It's pretty tasty. You mentioned a jacuzzi scene.
Yeah.
I'm in favor. I like that.
There's also some Ferris wheel fellatio.
Yeah, okay.
The fellatio wheel.
So that was for sure something I wrote down, was I was like, not only are we getting sex, like, finally in this book, but the variety and the locations in which we are having it. Oh boy.
There comes a point where the tension is there's just so much. You can not cut it with a knife, but with a fucking chainsaw.
Right.
So it all comes to a head.
A lot of head.
On the Ferris wheel at Coney Island.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I can't decide what was my favorite. I'm stuck between the first time they hook up on the Wonder Wheel Ferris wheel, or that then progresses into her giving him head while he's driving, and then she goes to see his strip show, and he basically like dry fucks her on stage. And just the descriptions of that's actually something where I would love to hear the audiobook of this, just to hear how this is described, because just reading it was pretty hot. So yeah, I don't know. I found that I'm a fan of a lot of the foreplay scenes in stories, because I'm like, this is like, I like the stuff that's leading up, you know, like, ooh, like, let's get there, you know? So,
and I will say the stuff about this book that I guess drew me in was not so much the actual, actions, but rather their chemistry, the sexual tension. It made me like miss a time when I had that with someone, just like, oh, I really like this person.
Right.
I can't breathe. I like this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, because if you just give us the sex off the bat, it's like, okay, well, it happened. Like, what am I holding out for? Like, what else am I expecting? But no, I think there was a really good balance in this one. You're right. For sure. So what was your favorite? Did you have a specific scene that just, wet your whistle?
I made notes of ones that I thought, just quotes, not even necessarily sexy ones. I have sexy ones too.
I have some fun quotes too, because that's my other thing. I haven't read Zoey Castile before, and her writing is really fun. Like, she's got like a really fun, playful tone. So I've definitely got some quotes and things that I've pulled as well that I think are super fun.
I'll do the Wonder Wheel one.
Yeah, do it. You do that Wonder Wheel.
Okay.
I'll get to the dry humping on stage because I like that one.
So this is fellatio on the Wonder Wheel. and Fallon's internal monologue is, she takes me into her warm, plump mouth and sucks. And I just thought the use of warm, plump, describing a mouth, I don't know why that was hilarious for me.
Warm, plump mouth. There's
that
another...
mouth is so warm and plump.
Thank you for gracing us with your sultry voice, Serena.
That'll be $10. Okay.
Warm, plump mouth. There was another scene, I think it's when they actually have sex for the first time, that he says something about, like, when he goes inside of her, like, it was like putting a knife through butter. And it was the one moment I was like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that description.
But this was my other favorite Fallon quote.
Oh, take it.
I can't even see straight. 4 robins on her knees, pumping her hands up and down my shaft while she sucks the essence out of me. She sucks the essence out of me. Like, that to me is so delightfully extra, you know?
Hashtag extra.
Hashtag extra.
It's true. It's true. Okay, I'm trying to think. I'm reading through the dry humping on stage, because of course I love this. I mean, this actually happens in Magic Mike 2, where the girl that he basically has like been kind of crushing on, but like they don't actually get together. He has her come up as the person on stage that he's gonna like flip around and fuck into the floor and stuff. And so I was happy that was a scene in this book. But to be fair, she does go voluntarily. It's not like, you know, she gets up there and she's like, oh my God, what do I do?
Right.
And he puts her on scene for this performance that he does where it's on a bed on stage. And and he they spin the bed and they like throw the bed back and forth across the stage. I was like, ooh, this is like some really high performance quality. Like, wow, okay. I think we'll start from here. I rest a knee on the edge of the bed, then another. I box her in with my legs. Without having to tell her, she raises her hands in the air and then we fall down and against the bed. She pulls her knees apart to make room for me and I thrust to the beat of the song, dry humping her. Everything about her welcomes me. The way she sinks into the bed, the way she raises her pelvis to rub against me. Atta girl, I think.
Atta girl.
Yes. Oh yeah, and then he ties a belt around her arms like on set. So I've been to, you had the stripper come to you guys, but I went to a show where they did stuff like this, where they'd go into the audience, they'd always pick out either somebody who it was their 21st birthday, or it was their bachelorette party, or it was like a divorced mom, like celebrating her divorce. And they bring them up on stage and they would do different things. Like sometimes if she was like a smaller girl, it'd be this scene where like he would pick her up and like, you know, throw her over his shoulder, you know, something. Like there would be different scenes like this. So I was like, okay, I did love though that I think he does it and one of the other strippers does it. They ask her, like, is this okay? Or like, I'm going to pick you up. Is that cool? Like, can I do this? So I really loved that it was like, okay, I'm not just going to like throw you around. I'm going to actually tell you a little bit of like what's going to happen. Consent is important.
Consent is important, yeah.
Very important. Even if it's somebody that you're dating.
It's
especially if it's somebody you're dating. Yeah, that's...
If you're a human, you have to consent.
Always.
Any interaction.
Yes. So yeah, those are our
those are the good ones.
Delightful
I kind of want to read other ones that I thought were just like Fallon's internal narration. Just he's so in lust with her that they're drinking champagne in a hot tub, in a bathtub rather. And he says, I envy the champagne that gets to slide down her throat. It's just so extra, but I love it. Yeah. Like, he envies champagne sliding down an esophagus.
No, that's good. That's
know?
good. This is from her. I lean into his neck and dot kisses along the vein that throbs against his skin. Ooh. I love throbbing veins. Yeah. No, I mean, it really is. It's the dialogue. The dialogue's good, too. It's not... Good. I feel like sometimes dialogue can be a little cringeworthy, but no, it's good. I like, too, when Lily finds out that Robyn and Fallon are, like, kind of hooking up, she's like, wait, so, like, he's leaving, like, what's the point? And Robyn tells her, how is it different from a regular relationship that ends after a week or a month or a year? This way, we're setting a timeline. It's like organized dating. I was like, that's a really great way of looking at it. Like, I feel like if more of us looked at things as organized dating, it would be a little bit more helpful, but at the same time, I think that's also
setting yourself for
disaster. I think it's just, I don't think it's possible. Like, I think dating and love is messy and complicated, and it's not convenient, and it's not organized, and that's how it should be. So
100%.
We never got more information about this, but Fallon admits that he has an irrational fear of puppets.
I don't even remember this.
Again, it's literally one line that pops up. It says, he grimaces, I never liked Sesame Street. Puppets are an irrational fear of mine. And I was like, oh my God, more on that, please. Like, is she gonna like do something with a puppet show? Like, is she gonna use his dick as a puppet? What's gonna happen? Nothing about puppets. I'm out here
looking like Cookie Monster, and he has an irrational fear of me. It will never be meant to be, Fallon.
It's so not meant to be. Here was another, I marked just a few like lines that I really liked. And one was, The Bluest Balls, a novel by Zac Fallon.
I would read that novel.
Right? Yeah. That was like after they had their makeout session the first time, and which was hot, even just making out, because he like picks her up and sets her on top of her dresser. I'm like, anytime somebody picks you up or like throws you against a door, like not throws, I mean, you know,
shoves you out
sexily shoves. But here was another line I liked. This is from Fallon. I'd found out the rough way when I went into my little sister's purse for gum and fished out the rectangular strip of pills. I ate Monday thinking it was a mint. They should teach these things in school.
They should. Turns out she's actually a lesbian. Maybe she was just taking the birth control to regulate her hormones. You don't know.
There you go. There you go.
She could not have, maybe she wasn't even sexually active at that point.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, this is one of my favorite quotes also.
Do it.
From Robyn. Wait, it's confusing because of the audio, but hold on, no. So basically, Robyn narrates the fact that Fallon asks her if she's hungry, and he says, are you hungry? And she says, I know he means hungry for food, but I feel a different kind of hunger. And I said, no, girl, eat a cookie. You should just eat a cookie if you feel that kind of
Eat
hunger.
a cookie. And
sometimes you'll just have low sugar, and then you think irrationally. Like, think about all the times you were hangry and how crazy you were.
True. And never once was I like, oh my gosh, I'm so upset. I'm so hungry. I'm feeling sick. I'm feeling anxious. You know what I should do? Suck a dick. Right. Like, that is never the first thought in my mind. Like, oh, that will solve my problem. Yes. Like,
and I'm glad you bring this up because this is like my final qualm with the book. I'm sure you're familiar with the term manic pixie dream girl.
Yes.
So, in a sense, I felt like they were both each other's manic pixie dream girl and manic pixie dream boy respectively. Like, she was a hot mess.
Right.
She is a neurotic, flustered, doesn't even have clean laundry.
Very external too. Like, we see her mess.
Yeah. And she's sort of trying to work it out herself. Like, why is it that I'm a mess? And she can't even put it into words. In fact, she never does.
No.
And then once Fallon enters her life, she still is a mess, but she's more okay with it and more brushing all the issues she had under the rug and is satiated. Is that the right word? I mean, satiated by the, maybe the right option. I'm doing air quotes at the time, which is Zac Fallon. But how long is that going to go? How long is he going to?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, is this just going to keep you happy for now?
Right.
Or
she can definitely relapse.
Yeah,
sure.
no, that's a good point. So I think we've covered the book, the plot, the characters pretty in-depthly, along with, the wonderfully graphic content that comes in the later half of the book. But once you hold out for it, you're going to be very satisfied with what you get. So now we will go ahead and give this book a few grades. So I'm going to ask you to grade for story, syntax, and sexcapades. And you're grading on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the absolute best that it could possibly be. So let's start with story. What did you think of the story?
I like the story. It's not something I would typically pick up to read, even if it wasn't like a romance novel. But it was well written. Everything sort of came into fruition. There weren't...
Sure.
I mean, more or less every loose end was tied up. So for that, I think the story is a 7.
Okay. No, that's great. Yeah. I'm gonna say 8. So I mean, we're in the same ballpark. I really enjoyed it. Loved the characters. Thought they were fun, easy to connect with. Story's good. It what's so funny is I almost feel like it was too much like Magic Mike and Bridesmaids to be like, okay, it's not the most original thing, but in terms of it being a book, I haven't read anything, of that variety before. And I do love the spin Zoey Castile is putting on the sex worker industry. I'm like, fabulous. Put it out there. Let people know. Make it a safe place to talk about. So love that. How about syntax? So Ms. Zoey Castile's writing. What do we feel about that?
I think she had some nice vocabulary choices.
Yeah. Plump.
Plump wasn't one I was thinking
Plump,
of.
knife, butter.
Butter.
It's another $10 right there.
No, so in that regard, yes, I think the syntax was good. I can't attest to the grammar per se because it was an audible book.
Right.
But I mean, it sounded
good.
Grammatically sound.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I would say, again, like, I wasn't expecting a quality of writing like that.
Yeah, sure.
I would probably also rate it a 7.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
7.5 maybe.
I'm with you. I gave it an 8 again. Like, I think it was very well written. There were, I feel like, a few things that we talked about that just kind of didn't tie together as well for me, but I love the tone. I think it's very difficult to make something that's serious and serious issues fun and comedic to talk about in a light way while still maintaining the integrity of those issues, like not making a joke of it. So I think she did a really good job with that. So yeah, there we go. How about the sexcapades?
I'd give it an F for fuck. No. It wasn't enough. Sexcapades were good. I like that we discussed this earlier, that it wasn't just like chock full of it. They happened when they were meant to.
Yeah.
And it was very nicely paced.
Yep.
9.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What's she losing a point for?
I mean, I haven't read... if you go 10, like, I lose credibility, right? I've only read one romantic novel. So.
That's fair. Personally, I'm going to give it a 10.
All right.
I'm going to say 10 because for me, the scenes were great. They were steamy. They were still tender. And this has been an important thing for me. I think there was a good balance. Like, I feel like it wasn't, like you said, just boning 24/7. Even though it comes in the later half, it's still a good amount. Like, I didn't feel like it was just being thrown in like, oh shit, I gotta put a sex scene in, Like, they were all very intentional and well thought out. So, yeah. Oh, and the variety. I mean, like the Wonder Wheel, Roadhead, like, even the makeout scenes were great. So, You got a fan in me, Zoey. So, I'm down. So it seems like we were both fairly happy with this selection, yes?
Yes. Or Yaz.
Oh, yes. Yes, the dog. Are you thinking that you're going to either read or listen to the next book in the series?
Perhaps. I think it's a possibility for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of mentioned it at the beginning, but are you feeling more open to the genre as a whole? Like, would you think about reading another romance in general?
I feel like, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah, I love it. Wonderful. We'll have to make recommendations for you.
Yes, I would appreciate it.
Fabulous. And any other last thoughts?
No.
$10 more for that one word. Should charge by the syllable.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's a cheap one too. I'll take that. That's perfect. Okay, great. Well, I think that just about does it for us. So we'll wrap this bad boy up.
Me, Kelly.
Yeah, of course. I'm so glad you came. So glad you came over. And yeah, look out for Stripped and the next few books in the Happy Ending series by Zoey Castile, because I know we will be looking out for them.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Prepare them ovaries.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Boobies and Noobies. You can follow us at Boobies Podcast on both Instagram and Twitter. And if you'd like to support the podcast and get a little extra bonus Boobies content every month, you can support us on Patreon at Boobies Podcast. Thanks so much to our February Patreon subscribers.